And we are live. Halftime show, sportsbookreview.com. The closing line. I'm your host today once again for halftime. Donnie Rightside. We'll have some fun here, go over what's taking place here in the first half. Maybe we can set up some value in the second half depending on where we're looking at and we're shopping. But a lot of these games, a little bit topsy-turvy. We talked about a lot of these early on before getting on the air. So we'll let some people filter in here, get the retweets out. We'll have some fun. It looks like those Cleveland Browns just took the lead. What? Got to be kidding me on that, right? Am I seeing that correctly there? The Cleveland Browns just took the lead 6-3 over Baltimore. Well, also doesn't help when Joe Flacco throws an awful interception in the red zone when you're up 3-0 to try to get down. We'll wait for something. Look, we got about 20 minutes here. We're going to have some fun here at the half. We'll see if we get some live links out to the people on Twitter and see what happens. Yes, Packers do look awful. Don't they look awful out there? It's pretty amazing, huh? Let me see what name I'm under in here. Hey, I'm the sportsbook review guy here with the yellow here in the chat box. So we'll have some fun. Nick, what's good? Joe, what's good? Yeah, kickers do stink, man. I don't have any idea what's going on here with special teams and kicking. Bills 7-6, Dolphins 14-0 with a huge special teams play. 6-3. Watching the Ravens here trying to go for a extra point field goal. Let's see if they can cash in because today's day and age in the NFL. I mean, why don't they just give him 7? If you want to go for 2, you can go for 2, right? He misses the extra point just as we're live right there. Isn't that hilarious? My goodness. Let me see if I can just switch up some things in this lobby. Doesn't look like it's allowing me to. So I'll stay under the sports book review label there. So if you want to shout and exactly. Another missed extra point. Why don't we just give them the 7? Why don't you get the 7 if you want to go for 2? You have 6 on the board and you can add the extra 2 points in there. I don't understand what's taking place there. Let's see what else we got here on the board, folks. Just to update us 17-0. Packers, look, we called it here early on. A little bit of a sharp type edge. I mean, this is a long way from being over, but the lines look like the right side. You're up 17-0, -1. I took them a little bit earlier on the closing line. We'll see how that game ends up. Chiefs just taking it to the Jaguars. They're just a hot team, man. Just a hot team. You're getting road Blake Bortles out here all over the place. You get a little bit of a rain, which you thought would help out the Jacksonville Jaguars, but doesn't seem to be taking place. It doesn't look like we're going to get a live lineup out here, so it looks like it might be us just hanging around here in the chat box. Let me just make sure I have everything updated that I need to. So welcome in if you are watching the show live at halftime. Let's start to dissect some of these things. One game I am still looking at here, the Steelers look like they're in the red zone versus the Atlanta Falcons. See if they can put up any points here. Looks like they're a little bit under that total that we're looking at, heading for that 57 or 58. In that area. What's good, Nasty Nate up there? Eric Swells, MC, Thomas, Bill Butler, Mosh is in here, KG, Ron Fig. See what else we have here. We'll see. Wait for a couple of these games to head in, but that's not a good look for Jacksonville. I mean, their MO is not coming back. Their MO is playing good defense and holding that Kansas City Chiefs team down. So we'll see what happens in that environment. Jets playing good football, 14-10. The big man on campus said, watch out for those New York Jets and watch out for those Detroit Lions. So maybe he's the NFL guru here on the website. Dolphins headed to half. That is 14-0. And I'm just scrolling through some plays to see a few of these if they can get to the half. First and goal, it looks like for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 13-10 over the Atlanta Falcons. Not much defense being played in this game. The Steelers just can't get out of their way with their own penalties. So, hey, Donnie, I said throw it up right now. Why can't Eli figure it out? You know what's interesting about that? Maybe that you throw it up with Odell Beckham Jr. is a better option. Maybe you should put Odell Beckham Jr. since you don't use him at wide receiver. Maybe you can just use him at quarterback there. I got a J over 55 yards today. Need your Eagles the ball. Yeah, as long as his back is feeling good, there's going to be some options to run the football. I think there'll be a little bit more points than expected in this game as you saw the 45.5 go up to 48. Big Ben taking a drop back in the red zone, surveying the field, almost intercepted. So second and goal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Would be nice here to get a touchdown out of those Steelers. What's the 4 p.m. free? Yeah, I like the Rams at 4 o'clock. And we'll get, once all these games hit halftime here, we'll really dissect some of these lines and see if we can find some value. Some of these are already at the half. Let's take a look here. 76, Buffalo and Tennessee. Line opens up -4 in the favor of the Tennessee Titans. And we talked about it earlier. I wasn't in love with this football game, but laying like 6 points or so with the Tennessee Titans didn't make all that much sense to me. In the same way I thought that laying a lot of points or laying 6 with the Cincinnati Bengals didn't make a lot of sense for me as well. We'll see how that ends up. Big Ben stepping back. He's got plenty of time. He's rolling around. He's got 3 hours to throw this football. Nobody's available. And he throws a punt into the end zone as only Big Ben does. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievably bad play. Unbelievable by Big Ben, man. So that one hurts right there. That's just a dumb play by Big Ben. First and goal at the 5-yard line. You end up throwing an interception because you throw one of the worst passes you're ever going to see. If nobody is open in the end zone, throw the football away. He doesn't do that sometimes. That's what you have to live with Big Ben. So that's just an absolutely horrific play as they just can't seem to get anything done, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't know, Antonio Brown saying just throw it up as a jump ball and congratulations, you're intercepted. So that game, if you had an over-under on that play, you love that play for the interception on the under. You obviously hate it. And if you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's a monster loss. You can go into the half up 10 points. Now you flip it back, but that's typical Big Ben right there. What else we have here? At the half, 14-0 Miami Dolphins over the Cincinnati Bengals, which we just talked about right there. -6.5, -7 showing up over under 24. Cincinnati playing that hunter's role. Don't play it very well. And that's what you're seeing right now. Baltimore looks like they're trying to drive to get some points up before the half. Maybe try for a field goal to tie it up at 6-6. So interesting games as they head down the stretch. And what else do we have here? Kansas City, as we talked about, 20-0. Carolina in control with the New York Giants, 20-10. And the New York Jets and the Denver Broncos, that one also 14-10. So, yeah, how about that one? So nice stuff right there. Had to take a drink of water after that one. So that was just embarrassing. It looks like we're going to have a Tucker field goal to line up at the end of the half, a 48-yarder by the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see if they can actually make this one. This is one of the few guys in the NFL that don't really struggle too much or worry about. And he got it blocked. So we have more problems out here in the kicking game. This is absolutely outrageous, man. Kickers are going to kick. We always laugh at them and say they're not really football players. Well, they decide a lot of football games out here. So the Browns are up at the half, 6-3. Late 4 o'clock games are just getting caught up on some lines here. Oakland and the Chargers, 5.5. Looks like 4.5 showing at Bet Online. CJ Beathard versus Josh Rosen. That game is -3 right now. So we see a nice little come down from 5.5 to what we had it earlier in the week. Minnesota and Philadelphia hovering at 3.5. The Rams -7.5 prevailing. I mean, there's a half juice, so you're probably looking at more like a 7 in that one in Houston at night, -3, -120. BMOC is at the game, Crazy Rocket. He's down there watching will be watching the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings in that one. So let's see what else we have here in this game. And nothing really up at the half yet outside of that Buffalo game. And if you're looking for, I didn't like to begin with that opening line, but if you're asking, Tennessee just has to win the football game, but they're going to have to win it by more than 3 if you want to cover that halftime line at 4.5. So probably would lean still on the Buffalo Bills at this rate. And then if you're looking at the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals, in this one -6.5, -7s across the board, over under 24.5. You do have a 23.5 at Pinnacle. One would think that game would open up a little bit, but what's the incentive if you're the Miami Dolphins to even open up that game at all? So that's another interesting one right there. Looks like D from Detroit. Mason Crosby single-handedly trying to kill my over. Yeah, come on, man. You're in a dome, brother. Mason Crosby seems like he's been around the league for like 3,000 years since he came out of Colorado. Maybe that string of playing is coming to an end. Looks like some of these games finally ending up close. You still have 44 seconds left in this Jacksonville game, and it looks like Jacksonville trying to put some points together here before the half. Jets in control, 21-10 over Denver Broncos. Congratulations. If you spotted that line, you said, let me get that rookie in there, because I didn't believe in it. I didn't want to go really near the Denver Broncos in that situation, but they're playing good football. Maybe it was one of those spot plays that you look at that you just have some tough times with. Incomplete pass into the end zone on first down for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Boy, if they can get a touchdown here, that would, help them going into the locker room for the game. Tough to win on the road, and you're going to ask Bortles to come all the way back. But if there's one defense that you think might be able to slow down the Kansas City Chiefs, it would be them. So we'll wait for some of these. A lot of these games here I thought would actually be at the half a lot sooner, but, not really showing up so far. Looks like we have some zeros on the clock out there on my odds board, but not the fact on ESPN. Let's see what we got here. Ravens, the half. We should get some numbers on that. Jacksonville still waiting. Broncos still waiting at the half. We're at the halftime with the Steelers game. Going to be interesting to see what that actually pops up at. And looks like a Giants field goal, 20-13. So they're hanging around after looking like they were about to get shotgun shelled in that football game. So, all right. Looks like we have some numbers coming up here. Atlanta. Chris opens them up as a pick of -135. So we'll wait to see some of these whole another bunch of numbers come up here and see if we can pick through Chris, Intertop's Bet Online, one of those offshore books there, to see if they can post some of these odds quickly for us so we could talk about those. Again, Cincinnati hovering around that 7-point touchdown range. And I guess you figure they will come back, right? If we're taking a look, you would think that they would make a game of it, because I don't know what the incentive for the Miami Dolphins is to really push down the gas pedal. You think they would come close. We do finally have a live link out here so we can get some people in and talk some football. Ravens and a pick them. All right, yep. So we're seeing some come up here. Pittsburgh Steelers -0.5 in the second half, over under 28. I mean, they moved the ball up and down the field, both of these teams. You would think should have been more points. 23 points is a travesty in that football game. You should have had a little bit more points than that. Of course, you had a missed extra point from Pittsburgh, which is a weekly occurrence from them. But sometimes when you look in the NFL, it's not Blake Bortles' second and goal just got intercepted in the end zone. So that's going to end that drive at 20-0. You could pretty much put down the Jacksonville Jaguars at this point. I'm going to be interested to see what type of halftime line actually comes up there for that game. Pittsburgh again still now minus a half, 28.5. If we're looking at Baker Mayfield and the boys, looks like -3, -120. Sportsbook.com puts up a -4.5 at halftime for the Baltimore Ravens. So you figure if they're going to win the game, you would take a -3, because then if they win the game, you're going to actually cover the line. Over under 21 and 21.5. Chris showing 21.5. Sportsbook.com 21.5 -125. So these little late pushes here. Looks like the Lions are in the red zone again. Let's see if they throw an interception to end the half here. Should be an interesting one. Matt Stafford back. Looks like first and goal from about the 7-yard lines. Reaches back, throws in the end zone. Incomplete. No flags. So we'll be second down and goal. All right, some of these other ones should be filtering through here in just a few moments. Any odds, interesting stuff that you had out there that you folks saw during the half? Because, I bounce around usually during the national game. And, that was a replay. I'm sorry about that. So Aaron Rodgers just continues to fumble the football away, but we'll see how this Detroit Lion game ends up. But a lot of interesting stuff. As I said, I'm usually a red zone guy on one TV, and the other TV I have like the national game on, which is the Kansas City Chiefs game. So haven't seen a lot of these games. I like to catch up when the day is over to watch some film through there. Not much, not big line movements in the afternoon. 48 still in that Philadelphia Eagles game. That was up quite a bit from earlier in the week at 44.5. So some interesting stuff there. Let's see what else we got here. Jets 21-10. Still waiting on some of these games to get to the half, and I have some stuff. But let's talk a little bit more about those afternoon games. Carr, Rivers. We'll get some inactive reports coming out here shortly for those football games. 4.5. They haven't changed that much. San Francisco was getting -3 when we were on here. Donnie, what the fuck is going on with the BG kicker? They're choking in general, but 0-3. Who's the BG kicker anyway? What's good, Ron Fig? The Bowling Green kicker? I don't know. The BG kicker. We'll find out who that. Oh, Green Bay, maybe? Maybe you typed that wrong, backwards. Mason Crosby. Interesting one there. Not a lot. 21.5 looks like that prevailing number in the Baltimore game. You would think it would open up a little bit. Somebody's going to throw some interceptions, but defense is pretty much on lockdown if they can get in the red zone and actually score. But then again, when you have Justin Tucker, and he's getting his field goals blocked, not too much going on there. 27.5. So it dropped down in that Atlanta-Pittsburgh game. So not looking good if you're an overbacker to start that game. That line moves off of 28 down to 27.5. And we'll see how that plays. I don't really have a great feel for that, but you figure they would get points, right? 4 touchdowns in the second half with Atlanta and Pittsburgh. You would think that's going to take place there. It looks like a pick 'em. And either way, they're calling it the same way the game started, -3, which is what they're sitting on to try to protect themselves. -0.5 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so you could technically buy out if you wanted to buy out, but I don't really know who's going to be doing much for that. CJ Rosen coming up still -3 on that one, -3.5. Looks like we have some other ones that finally get to the half we could talk about here. Numbers popping up for the New York Giants and Carolina Panthers, -2.5 across the board, over under 21. So it looks like if you have the Carolina Panthers, that's a nice little number to have, that -2.5. In the Pittsburgh Steelers game, you also have the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, getting the ball first half. So that one's going to be a shootout. We thought about, shooting it out, and there's going to be points. I still think there's going to be a lot of points here in the second half. One of the more interesting games, which you thought would come down to the wire anyway, would be the Pittsburgh Steelers game. Could have padded a little bit of stats, and you get Detroit in again, 23-0. Let's watch an extra point here, which seems to be the flavor of the day in the NFL. And that's actually good. 24-0. Detroit Lions on the board. And if you watch the show, I'm on Detroit Lions -1 and also the Baltimore Ravens -3. So we got one, looks like pretty much well in hand, but we do know the NFL will probably tighten up in the second half. And we'll see if we can get some play out of Baltimore to see if we can close a nice little 2-0 day on the closing line here with sportsbookreview.com. Big man's down in the parking lot, tailgating down, so we should be having some fun. Weather nice in the Philadelphia area, so a little bit of muggy conditions. Should be some fun. Look, I like it when my shows are done for the day, and I can usually enjoy the Eagles. Otherwise, Eagles have a 1 o'clock game. I'm doing a couple shows. I can't give it all the attention that I really need to do, but hey, it is the way it is, and the show must go on. Updated numbers here. Baltimore still sitting at 3. Jacksonville opens up -3, +110 in the second half. It's down 20-0. So you figure they would try to make a comeback in this one. What's Andy Reid got up his sleeve? A lot of these games where Kansas City has jumped out to a nice early lead, They usually, give a little bit of it back, but let's see what type of heart that those fellas have. See if they can do it. Tennessee -6 now. I know they were showing a -4, 4.5. Now showing -6s across the board in the second half. So it looks like that win and cover. Hopefully they can get back and get after it. I don't have a great feel for that one. Carolina -2.5. I don't trust the New York Giants. I just don't. And it's a 7-point game right now. And I think Carolina can win the second half by a field goal. I think that's valid try there. And I also think there's going to be points in that Atlanta-Pittsburgh game. Sitting on 23 at the half. Big Ben throws that interception. So you could have had 30 on the board at the half, 27.5 with both teams, probably trying to score in this one. You would think that they would be able to get done and get over that number 27.5, but you do need 4 touchdowns, and it is the NFL. It's not college football where they just go up and down. Al says, you like Philly in the overtime. I like Philadelphia in this game. I like them a lot better at 3 than 3.5, but I think they can win this game in one of those, 27-20 type fashions. But I do think there would be, when I say 27-20, sitting right on that line, 48's a high number to get over in the NFL, but the Eagles defense usually plays well at home, but something just gives me the feel that Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz are going to be throwing it up there and getting after it. Bill Butler, Donnie, I really like Jordy Nelson to have at least 55 receiving yards. Yeah, I do too. That's not a bad wager in there because you think there's going to be points put up there. Jordy's had a couple nice weeks there, and he is a nice target for Derek Carr to throw to. I don't think that's too bad for you there. I don't think it is. All right, still 7s in this area. Anybody got any hot gold out there that you want to put on the second half or what we're interested in taking a look at, or any 4 o'clock games you have any questions on? Some of these games will be coming out the half shortly. So we'll go about another maybe 10 minutes left and at least see some of these lines. Look, second half, obviously, you have Tennessee out right now. Looks like Buffalo has the football 1st and 10 and moving it around the 40-yard line. Allen drops back to pass. Can't find anybody, but he does got, you give him a little credit for being a athlete, throws the football away. But that's a good start there if you have Buffalo not going 3 and out. Looks like we have a melee on the sideline, maybe a late hit, dumb play. And we'll see how that all boils out. But the one game that I'm probably disappointed in for a game that I wanted to watch, sit back and relax, didn't have an actual wager on the game particular, was the Jacksonville-Kansas City game. I thought we would get a good one there. I do think the Rams roll 7, Eli. But, hey, look, you think a lot of things here, and it's a heavily public play, 70% lining up on the Rams tickets there. But it did open up at 7. You saw some 6.5s, and it looks like it's settling in 7.5 with a little bit of juice. I just don't think Seattle has a lot to offer you in this game. Can they come back and maybe get through the back door? I mean, we've seen it all before, but what has shown you that the Rams actually slow it down throughout the football game? Does a 7-point win see all that drastic in that game? Not to me. Detroit and Green Bay at the half, going to wait for some lines to pop up there. Should be a good finish in that Pittsburgh Steelers game. And how about Denver -3 in the second half versus the New York Jets? You would think they would play close in that game, right? -3 seem a little bit short. I think they can win that second half. Over under 20.5. I think they might even be able to get over that one as well. So that might be some interesting ones to take a look at here. Over under 21 with Carolina. And that just is a showing of the Giants. You see how the Giants score touchdowns, double reverse passes. I mean, come on, man. Eli, man, you got to move on from him or something like that. But anyway, my whole family is Vikings, and we are suiting up as we speak. This is the game as a shootout. And I usually cheer for your boys, but I can't today. Good luck. Yeah, it's a big one, man. You're going to have a big finish in that Pittsburgh game, too, because I believe somebody's going home. And somebody in this division, I mean, technically you would think the Minnesota Vikings need it more because the Eagles division isn't going to be, as crazy, I wouldn't think, heading down the stretch. But you never know in those type of situations. So just watching. They're going to take a while to sort out these penalties here in that Buffalo Bills game. Another game now starting out at the half, Miami and Cincinnati. So those games are underway. But I would say at the half, if we're looking, I think Carolina can win the second half by 2.5. I think Denver can come back -3 in the second half, just looking at those overall. You got like pick'ems and heavy juice on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second half, even though Atlanta does start out and get the football first. Over under 27.5. I think that game can hit 28 points. So I think there's a couple decent ones. Do Eagles tend to watch for divisional games? What does that mean? I don't know what that means, but you're going to pay more attention to divisional games than you would something like the AFC or something like that at this point. Aaron Rodgers, 9 of 19. He's got 141 at the half, 2 big fumbles in that football game. Looks like the personal foul was on the Tennessee Titans, so Buffalo moving the football 2nd and 10 on the 40 of the Tennessee Titans. So that should be a big one to watch down the stretch. If you can get any points, if you're the Buffalo Bills, that should be pretty interesting as we flow along. Late games here, not much movement as we went over some numbers. 48 in Philadelphia, 40.5. Maybe look, it's hard to bet an under at 40.5, isn't it, in the NFL when you're looking at Arizona and San Francisco? Just a tough one there. Just a real tough one there. But there is some decent value lining up. 152 people in here watching. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll watch these together before some of these games come out of the break. Everything is up there, but I would probably say, just going over it again, like Carolina in the second half here. I like the Denver Broncos, just trying to take some value perspective here. And I like over 27.5 in that Atlanta and Pittsburgh game. But we'll have some fun. We'll watch a lot of these games, and joked around yesterday in college football. Tomorrow on the right side of campus, 10 a.m., sportsbookreview.com. We'll go over when it's appropriate to use the reverse jinx and when it is not. So keep in mind, and we'll have some fun. At Steve Bjorn, hey, Donnie, sorry if I missed the Baltimore second half, 3.5. Kyle Hamburg, 1 p.m. unders, 4 p.m. overs. Yeah, look, man, some of these players got to wake up in the morning a little bit too early, get it out of their system there. One guy looks like didn't get it out of his system was Blake Bortles. So we'll see what happens in the second half of this one. What's up, Matthew Varnum, Von Polo, Kyle Hamburg. And it's just about time to shut down the halftime show. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Decent little 4 o'clock slate, little Battle of Texas here tonight. And we'll be back on the shows to preview the Monday Night Football game on the right side of campus. I know we have a lot of good stuff going on sportsbookreview.com. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button just below, please feel free to do so. Hit the like, hit the dislike. Thank you for the engagement here. I always like a quick little second half show just to see what's going on so we can get you guys back out to the games that we love. Good luck in your fantasy football. If you have any questions, reach out to us here at sportsbookreview.com. Give us a follow at SBR Sports Picks. I'm Donnie Rightside for the closing line for Sunday, signing off. I'll catch you fellas tomorrow morning on the right side of campus.